One. Recording. I am recording the screen, by the way. Okay, guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Fantasy Football Podcast. I know that there were some close games last week. My game was not one of them. I think I lost 75 to about 150, so it wasn't a great week for me. But there was there's been some rule change suggestions that I know Jordan kind of asked me about. This is what Jordan wanted me to discuss on the podcast, kind of how COVID is going to play into the way our league runs. And Anthony, you had a pretty good idea, I thought, on some changes that we could make.
Yeah, let me just bring up the Facebook post real quick, because I just put a wall of text up 10 minutes ago, and it's a long read. I'm sorry, everyone. But the general idea is, with COVID this year, we've already had a few games impacted. Luckily, nothing's really been canceled. It's just been postponed and moved back a week. But that can be things that people don't plan for. And so we're looking for a way to try to alleviate some of the uncertainty that COVID has. In a normal season, you're going to have players who get hurt from week to week. So you might go into a game on a Monday night with someone who's questionable, and you don't know, hey, should I start this guy or start someone else? What do we do? But in this instance, this year, you might have an entire team or two teams, that could be questionable, and so it just creates a lot more uncertainty in the league. And it hasn't impacted too many games yet, but I see it potentially, getting bigger. We just heard today, I think, that Atlanta had 4 cases, so it's another game that might be impacted this weekend. So, with that, the proposal I'm making, and I'd like to probably implement it this weekend if we can, if enough people are okay with it, is that you would start your players, any COVID-impacted players you may have, you would start them as normal. So let's say you got Julio Jones, and you would normally would play them if he's healthy. You would start him in your starting lineup, and then I am going to be creating a thread every week on Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm just going to call it the COVID thread, with the games that are potentially impacted. And if you have any players that are on those games, you would just respond to the thread stating your starting player and then stating who you're going to use for a backup. If that game ends up being canceled because COVID keeps, they keep getting tested positive, and to cancel a game or move it back a week, what I would do is manually go in after this week's over, pull that player out, put your backup in, and the backup player's points would get credit. It's a lot more work for me, and I'm not sure how much work it's going to be. It probably will depend on how bad this gets, but I think it'll help alleviate some uncertainty that we're seeing. And again, I'm trying to nip this in the bud before it gets too bad. Like I said, we only had a couple games, but we'll see how things go. So I'm looking for feedback from people. I posted on the Facebook thread. I'd like to hear from everyone if I can, just because I hate doing rule changes in the middle of the season like this.
Yeah.
I just very much against this, but I feel like this is kind of a special circumstance this year. So,
yeah, I think it's a good idea. I do.
Yeah, so I'm hoping I can hear from everyone, in the next day or so. And provided someone doesn't have a point that I haven't thought about, which I'm not saying there won't be that, but if someone has a good reason not to do this, I'm open to hearing it, and we may not do it, or we might wait another week. But if I don't hear anything that is a legitimate reason, and I have enough people that want to do this, we're going to probably start it this week. So
my other league, we're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
You just pick a guy who you want to, and then you text the league, or do whatever, but just text the league commissioner who you want as a backup and move on with life. So.
Okay. And my thought on doing it on Facebook is that way it's completely transparent. It's all there.
That's fine.
Anyone can see it.
It really doesn't matter unless you got a guy that's trying to.
I texted this guy, Anthony, not that guy. Yeah.
Right. No, well, that's the thing is I don't want to have I don't want anyone to have any suspicions that there's any type of cheating going
around the world.
Right. Yeah. We don't need fantasy football shenanigans. So, excuse me. I want it to be completely out in the open. Because I want this to be fun for everyone. I want it to be honest. And I feel like, if we don't do it in the open, there's potential for people, even if nothing does happen, there's potential for people to feel like something's going on, not in the up and up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a really good idea.
You heard the man, people. Get out there and vote.
Yeah, definitely go on
Yeah.
League of Legends and let us know what you think of it.
Vote early and vote often.
Especially when it comes to fantasy football, your most
Especially when
important
it comes
civic
to
duty.
fantasy football.
As an
That's
American,
right.
playing fantasy football every fall is the most important thing you can do.
That's right.
Okay, is there
So-
what did we want to get into next? Do we want to get into kind of Ben's approach, or do we want to go look at this past week's standings? As much as I don't want to do the
Maybe
later
a little
ones.
recap of standings. That would be helpful.
Yeah, let's just take a quick, brief look at the standings, everyone, and then we can get into some of the waiver wire changes that are going on
Drama.
and the drama, and then we'll talk to Ben about the Ben theory on fantasy football.
Okay.
So
Can't wait.
So last week we had some pretty good matchups. Actually, not too many close games. They were actually pretty. I don't know. The closest game was probably 20 points, 30 points. It was kind of a week of blowouts.
Yeah, this was I think this is where we really saw the teams that are, like, the people that are in it are still in it, and the people that are lagging behind are really showing their showing what's up. Like, looking at Lions Kool-Aiders and Rager Bombs and the Cubbies, like, all 4-1 teams, or well, Kool-Aiders is 3-2, but still, like, Jorge, actually, I didn't notice my Didkit in a box was doing so well this season. I feel like he's surprised me most out of anybody, turning it around from last year.
Yeah, there's not really any one matchup that I'd say let's take a deep dive into it. It's all pretty.
Can we actually see what I did wrong this week?
Sure. What did you do wrong this week, Jeremy?
No, I want you to tell me. I don't know.
Oh, all right.
I didn't have.
I will say, just before we get into it, there was one game that was close. I missed that. Brendan lost to Jordan by 9 points. So that was the close game of the week. But all right, let's look at Jeremy and see what we can.
Check out this cool.
Ben, we're gonna need some help. Yeah, help us figure out what Jeremy did wrong.
This is another segment I'd like to bring every now and then, is the critique.
We can do that.
Maybe we'll learn something together. Cause my team right now, what can I do? I'm 0-5, guys. Give me some hot tips. Where do I go from here?
Well,
to be honest,
draft.
I think you start throwing some trades out.
Yeah.
That, you try and get some good keepers. 0-5. That's what you're looking for at this point.
Yeah, that's the direction that I was headed.
Ben's absolutely right. We're getting to the point now where the 0-5, 1-4. It's time to start thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And I hate to see people selling players for nothing.
No, and that's
but,
true, because the league can get out of control.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to try to promote people doing things that aren't competitive. But at the same time, if you can help yourself with some draft picks or potentially even land a keeper, a keeper with a low keeper value but high value, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is the time to start doing that for those teams.
Are we doing the toilet bowl this year, where like the people who don't make the playoffs compete? So you do still want to compete because you'll get a better seat in the toilet bowl.
Correct. And the past couple of years we have not really done it, but we'd like to we will be doing it this year. The team that wins the toilet bowl will be able to select their draft spot next year.
Yeah, that's crazy important.
That's the prize. Yep. So, yes, you don't want to completely tank because there is still value in winning that toilet bowl. But if you can trade some nice players this year for some players that might be nice keepers for you next year, this is the time to start thinking about that.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the critique. I found that extremely helpful, and I'm sure there's a few other people in the league who like what you had to say.
Also, next year, draft more running backs.
Well, and this is time of year for guys that are in a bad spot. You got to hit the waiver wire hard on high fly guys that maybe you could keep for a 17th round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in that situation now where spend all the money you got, because
yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Except for
So
on players
speaking
I
of
want. Don't spend all the money.
speaking of the waiver wire, So apparently there was some drama this week, Ben.
Well, the Claypool guy, goes off for 4 touchdowns. Nick was all pissed because he dropped him last week, which I would be too. Well, so I saw this morning, it was all processed. He spent $50 on him. So I'm like, wow, he really didn't want to lose him, which, good for him. Well, I was talking to him on the phone, and he goes, I saw my waiver was 12 out of 12 or 10 out of 10, so I thought I had to spend the most money to get him. I said, no, it's all just on an absolute dollar basis, right? Doesn't matter what your waiver rank is if you're spending dollars.
I'm almost positive the only thing that would come into play is if two people bet the same amount of money.
Or a $0 player.
Or $0 player, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so taught him
but if he wanted him, he had to spend the most amount of money anyway.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But I don't know if $50 is the right amount. That's all.
Well, it depends on what he thinks.
How much did you put on him?
I got in the middle of doing some work last night, and I totally forgot about it. I woke up this morning a little frustrated on missing out on a few of these free agents that I was looking to.
Ruggs?
Yes.
Thanks for the hot tip on that one.
You're welcome. Well, when I said it, I thought someone had already picked him up, and then when I looked the next day, I was like, can't believe I did that. So you're welcome. Enjoy him. Let me know how that 17th round keeper is for you next year.
Okay.
So no, there was a lot of good movement. I was happy to see a lot of good movement on the waiver wire this week. I feel like healthy waiver wire movement is a healthy league. And a lot of teams were active, so I think that's good. A lot of good players were out there and got picked up, so we shall see.
Yep.
So Ben, what do you think what's your general theory with fantasy football? What guides you when you're picking your team from the draft all the way through and throughout the season?
Well, I've always been a guy that, PPR with having the receive point per reception, that's obviously big. That gives you a nice floor for receivers. Target running backs that tend to catch the ball a lot, same thing. Gets their floor. If you got a guy that's going to catch 2, 3, 4 balls a week, he's probably going to get you at least 10 to 15 points as running back. And frankly, it changed every year depending on the draft. I go into the draft with a certain thought process, guys I like, but this year it was talked about a couple times. Running backs were getting taken early and often.
Yeah, Anthony had 8 running backs, or he has 8 running backs.
By about the 3rd to 6th round, there were running backs going way earlier than I would normally have thought, and so at that point you got to just kind of adapt. And being in PPR leagues, like, all right, I'm gonna have to roll with 2 running backs. I'm going to have 3 stud receivers at that point, So this year I definitely went for more higher upside guys because years past I've had top tier running backs. I've had McCaffrey and Barkley for the last 2 years. And,
yeah, I was going to say
I haven't won the championship. I haven't won the championship.
This had to be a weird year for you, not having both those guys. You've got McCaffrey still, but you didn't have Saquon. You had to come up with that number 2.
Absolutely. So, it's just, in years past, I've had pretty good teams, I felt like, but I get in the playoffs and, you get these teams that have the high upside guys and they all hit one week, and you might have the best team over the whole season, but when it gets to the playoffs, you have to be able to score the most amount of points possible, because you might have nothing against, not trying to dish on you, Jeremy, but you have a guy that just barely gets to the playoffs and he'll throw up 180 points, something like that crazy, and you got to be able to. Your team has to have that potential. If not, you're
I forgot that trade was still going. Oh crap!
I just confirmed a trade with Anthony that he offered me yesterday.
That he totally forgot he left out there. Oh.
I saw it pop up on my thing. It wasn't loading on my browser, and then I had to pull up my phone. I'm sorry. You can keep going, Ben. We'll circle back.
Well, hot news. Le'Veon Bell's going to the Chiefs too. So
that's crazy.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. Thankfully, not Chicago. Woo!
Oh, I wish he would have
I
went to
was
Chicago.
so nervous about
Could you
him going
imagine
to
Nick
Chicago.
Foles throwing to him every week?
No, I want to see Nick Foles throwing to my guy every week.
Oh yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
I can never remember his name. Wow, that's big news. Okay, well, how do you think
Adam
that's going to
Shepard
impact?
Jr., baby.
All right, Ben, what do you think? How do you think that's going to impact? What's the fantasy impact on that?
I don't know. That I couldn't tell you, because if you're the Chiefs, what do you? I don't know. You got that really good rookie. You've got some depth there. I guess he's just kind of a good backup guy, I guess, for them. But
Yeah,
I would imagine he's going to take 3 to 5 carries from the starter a week.
It's interesting. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's been decent. He's been solid, but he's not getting a ton of yards. I mean, when you look at, I'm just pulling up his stuff. He had 140 yards and a touchdown the first week, but since then, no rushing touchdowns, and he hasn't broken 65 yards yet since then.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, definitely not good for Donnie. No doubt about that, right? Because Donnie has Hilaire or whatever.
Yeah, I got to think he's going to eat into it a little bit.
I would think at least probably 5 carries a week or 5 touches, whether that's a reception here or there. So that's still a scary team, no doubt about it. Kansas City, that's
interesting. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they're saying
we might have another running back by committee on our hands, which as fantasy owners, that's been brutal this year. So.
Wow. All right. Well, that was big news.
All my players are the smallest part of that tight knit community.
So sorry, Ben. Getting back to what you were saying now. No, I think a lot of what you said makes a lot of sense. The way I looked at it. Of course, the running backs that get passes, that's important. That's huge. It's a huge floor if you're getting 4 to 5 receptions every week, right? Mm-hmm. I think what's different this year than in years past is, and this kind of guided me this year, because in the past I've kind of been pretty balanced, and I always felt like it was easy to find wide receivers on the waiver wire, and it was always hard to find running back. Right? It seemed like finding a running back was really hard to do because, everyone would have them. So that kind of guided me with my running backs this year, that I'm just going to pick up as many as I can, and if I need a wide receiver, I'm going to find something. Right. I feel like it's almost flipped a little bit this year in that, I mean, look at your team, for instance. Who's the guy from Miami you picked up?
Gaskins.
He's been solid.
Oh, well, one of my most exciting pickups of the year, Obviously, getting the guy for Carolina, too, but to me, that's potentially, a keeper,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, and
frankly,
Mike Davis,
just the depth I'm happy with,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mike Davis, that happens year to year, right? We expect that backups are going to step in at some point, like you got with Madison as well right now.
Yeah. Well, Davis, I paid up for. I paid $25 for him. So.
Yeah. Well, but you had to. I mean, if you didn't have that backup, you have to do that.
And you got to do.
And he's been great for you since he's been in. So.
Absolutely.
The thing this year is, with you with the Miami running back, Jacksonville's running back, who's been very solid for Jorge, I believe. In fact, let me take a look.
There's some very good late round running backs that people didn't know about. That, like, even me, I didn't know about. Like, I didn't know about Gaskins. I didn't know about the guy from Jacksonville.
James Robinson, and then the running back for Washington as well, Gibson.
Well, I think most people knew. I mean, he was a rookie, so I wouldn't say he was unknown, but yeah,
he wasn't drafted very high. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this year there was some running backs. So far, there's been 3 potentially that kind of came out of, I won't say nowhere, but you were able to get you were able to get one, and they're a starting running back for you pretty much all year. So
yeah,
it's. And I feel like wide receiver, it's not been quite like that. We had Jefferson's been pretty good from Minnesota.
Yep.
I can't think. I'm sure there's other ones I'm not thinking of right now.
CeeDee Lamb's been pretty good. Rookie.
I think receiver. He was drafted, but yes, he's been really good. Yeah.
Well, Jefferson was drafted, but really late.
Was he drafted late? Okay.
Drafted him.
Oops.
10th round.
It's all about. I think you're right. It's all about balance and
this year in the draft for me was big time adapting. Right, I did not expect as many running backs because you weren't the only person going for running backs. I think it was you, Chip, maybe Adam.
Yeah. Chip always does a lot of running backs. Adam drafted some running. Yeah, Adam was a little weak at the top with running backs, and so he had to kind of backloaded on running backs to try to find someone that he might hit.
Imagine how bad it's going to be next year for running backs.
Well, I think it's a big ebb and flow thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I'm going for him.
Yeah,
I learned my lesson.
Yeah, it's one of those things like with running backs. You always end up with I won't say the most injuries of any position, but it seems like it's
up there.
It's up there, and they're harder to replace. You don't have as many running backs that are getting
There's so many
carries.
teams with running back by committee where it's a goat rodeo trying to figure out who's going to get 10 touches.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. You got a lot of teams where you might have 3 productive wide receivers, but you don't. I mean, most teams don't have 2 productive running backs.
Yeah,
so
that's very true. That's very true.
I think that's probably why some of us put a premium on running backs, and and this year it's burning me. I've 8 running backs and I can't win a game. I can't buy a win. So
it's not one of those. I'm not saying people that did it were wrong. It's just one of those. I started seeing all these running back go, and it's just all right. I can't. You have to adapt. There's only so many running backs, and so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try and hit on receiver. Trying to hit on tight end. Just see if you can't change it up. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
So far, it's worked, but I haven't had a ton of injuries. So, that a couple of injuries, it changes big time.
That's key.
So,
first place teams can fall to very low place teams really quickly if you get 2 bad injuries in the same week.
Yeah, your top 2 wide receivers going out week 1. That's a challenge.
Well, I'm surprised your guy didn't break his hand punching his teammate last week.
Oh. We'll see. Between him and my DUI, it's great.
He throws a good punch. Well, that's not your DUI anymore.
That's true. Not my problem. So we've got 2 pending trades. We might as well kind of go into these.
Yeah, let's touch on those.
So we'll start with the one that's been open for the longest, and that's a trade between Empire, Strikes Back, and Depression. So we got Chip with Empire Strikes Back trading away, and I'd like to invite Chip for a guest appearance here once I go over this trade. Okay.
So how many weeks straight is this with a trade by him?
It's got to be as many weeks as there is.
Yeah, just about every week. Okay, so Chip's trading away Eric Ebron, Pittsburgh tight end.
He picked him up.
DJ Chark, wide receiver from Jacksonville, and Sammy Watkins, wide receiver from Kansas City.
Dropping Gronkowski.
He is trading to AJ is giving up Kansas City defense and Noah Fant, tight end from Denver.
Why don't you just spit into his mouth?
Chip, we'd love to hear your.
That's a great. Actually, who's the other guy? That's a great trade. I mean, he got the best player in the deal, Chark. I mean.
Yeah, so AJ does get the best player in the deal, in my opinion. I mean, but my goal is to try and make the playoffs right now. So I get the whole idea of the long-term plan of, Chark could be a good stash away and a keeper, but for me, on my team, the biggest holes that I've had is defense and tight end. I have not, and you just said I'm dropping Ebron, and I picked up Ebron, I dropped Gronk, I traded for Gronk. He didn't work out for me, and it's a weird year, I think, for tight ends because I've not seen a year, and this is my 5th year, I have not seen a year where tight ends have really mattered, except for maybe 1 or 2 guys in the league that you can't touch, that somebody was lucky enough to hit on. Typically, tight ends are a run-of-the-mill. You just pick them up, put them in, plug them in, get your 10, 12 points, and be happy with it. There are a bunch of guys in our league right now that are getting almost 20 points for that tight end spot. And if you're going to compete against it, if you're going to try and compete against it, which I'm trying, then I can't have an Ebron. I can't have a Gronk who's going to give me 8 points and everyone's happy about it. For Gronk, I can't be satisfied with that. And so for me, those 3 players that I'm trading away are bench players in the moment, and they're not scoring me points. And what I needed was somebody who could potentially stand on that stage with the top 4 teams at tight end position, as well as having defense that I can rely upon. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I don't disagree at all. I think given where you're going and given where the other guy's team is, I mean, I think it's a good move on both. You know, he gets a guy with maybe good keeper potential, and Shark obviously is. He might be able to keep him for next to nothing next year, which would be great for him. But like you said, it gets you a chance in the playoffs. So I agree from both sides of it. It's a good trade for both parties, I think. Go team.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. At first when I heard it, I was like, what is Chip doing? But I actually had a chance to talk with Chip on the way home tonight, and he kind of walked me through it, and it makes a lot of sense. I understand what Chip's doing. I don't necessarily, that's not how I necessarily would want to run my team. I just don't like not having any depth, but I totally understand what he's doing, and by knowing that, it makes total sense. Yeah, and I feel like he accomplished what he was trying to do there. So I think it's a good trade for both of them. It's a nice DJ Chark's a nice keeper piece for AJ. It's for next season because he does come with that. He'll have a 16th round keeper cost next year. So provided he finds a way to get better this year, and I'm hoping he does. Since I'm rolling with Minshew.
Well, you can have Fitzmagic. He's been playing pretty good for me. He's my backup, my COVID backup.
We'll have to talk after this. See what
I like it. I got 2 old guys as quarterbacks. Nothing flashy, nothing exciting.
So, hey, thanks for coming on, Chip. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chip, for your guest
appearance. No, absolutely.
For popping in.
You like the trade. You got an approval from the squad.
Yeah, no, I think
like the trades every week.
When you explained it made sense.
Yep. Yes. So we're gonna give it 2 thumbs up. Good trade. And this next one we'll make this quick. So we did. I'm trading with Jeremy, so we have a podcast trade going on here.
It was live. It happened on
It happened. Yeah, I totally forgot I offered it, and it happened on air. So I am sending to Jeremy. I'm sending Tyler Boyd, wide receiver from Cincy, which hurts a little bit because I really have been happy with how he's done for me this year. Schultz, tight end from Dallas, and Melvin Gordon, running back from Denver. And Jeremy will be sending to me Allen Robinson, wide receiver from Chicago, and Hayden Hurst, tight end from Atlanta.
It's hard to see Allen Robinson go, but yeah. I really think the tight end. I'm losing. I'm getting a worse tight end. That's okay. I'm getting a worse wide receiver. That's okay. But I am getting a running back, and if he's out for 2 games, the last player who got a DUI was out for 2 games, and so if he's out for another 2 games, that's something I'm willing to deal with. What round did you draft Gordon?
I believe Gordon was a 3rd round.
Okay, because he's
3rd or 4th.
He's somebody that if you did draft him in the 4th round, I would keep in the 3rd round for a 3rd round pick.
He was a draft, so the rule is if it's drafted in that round, you get to keep him for that round the next year.
Oh, okay.
I
thought it was the round after. That makes sense. Okay.
Yep. So it's only once you keep him for that round, next year he has to go up.
Okay, that makes sense. Got it. So yeah, he's somebody that I would consider keeping in the 4th round, depending on how he plays the rest of the year. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. Like you guys said, I'm trying to find people that I can hold on to, that I don't have to worry so much about getting good running backs next year because I'll already have 1 or 2 in my pocket.
Or you have a 1st and 2nd round pick that you can use on a running back.
Yeah, true.
By having a 16th round keeper or something like that.
Yeah.
So
makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Ben,
you heard? If you ever don't like Schultz, let me know. I'll take him.
Will do. I'll remember that.
Schultz has actually been really good. I shouldn't say really good. Schultz has been pretty good for me. I was a little nervous when Dak went down, and so that's why when we started talking, and I saw Hayden Hurst, even though Hayden Hurst has not had a great year, but I feel like other than maybe 3 or 4 tight ends, no one's having a good year for tight ends. So
they're
I know it's got 2 tight ends that are playing pretty good this year.
I'm sorry, what, Ben?
I think there's a guy in the league that's got 2 tight ends that are playing pretty good this year.
So
I feel like each week one of my tight ends has at least put up double digits. I just don't know how to. I don't. There's no data that I can look at that tells me which one to put in. Like I try and go with the green, yellow, red thing that Yahoo has, and that works sometimes. But like some tight ends have like good weeks every now and then. Like looking at Schultz's record, he put up 2 points, then 21 points, then 8 points, then 17 points, then 1.6 points. And obviously Dak got injured that last day. Like it's a roller coaster for some of these tight ends. It's hard to know which one to put in.
Well, it's a matchup. At that point where you got 2 guys that are going to be, they're not a top 5 tight end. You really got to be on top of the matchup and see. I mean, you don't have to dive into it, but I just read Matthew Berry's Love Hate and go off that.
I need to find the blog or something like that I can follow.
I don't really have like some voodoo thing going on here. I just literally read one article and start people off that. So
well, that's one more article than I read every week.
one thing to think about for you, Jeremy, with Dalton Schultz, with the new quarterback. I mean, granted, what's the quarter? I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Andy
Dalton. Dalton's been in the league, but fairly new offense for him. It's very possible he could be dinking and dunking 2 tight ends for a few games. You may not have downgraded at tight end, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I think he has really good upside.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver, tight end kind of athlete. So.
Mm-hmm. So
the only thing
we'll see how it plans out.
What was that, Ben?
The only thing. So one of the guys that I drafted this year that I was really high on hasn't done anything. Michael Gallup, right? He's been awful this year. That was the only encouraging sign I saw after Dak got injured was Dalton was hitting him, targeting him more than a CeeDee Lamb, more than Amari Cooper. So to me, that was a pretty positive sign because to me, I thought Gallup was starting my receivers, but he has not played. He's definitely not a flex. He's not a starting wide receiver based off the first 4 weeks. So to me, that was an encouraging sign from my team.
Mm-hmm. Well, do we want to get into the matchups this week?
Signs. Yeah, let's get into next week's matchups.
Well, you gotta find it. Even if you got a bad team, you gotta
dig through the sand.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think you're pretty harsh on yourself because when you look at it,
play it up.
I mean, when we were looking at this, Anthony and I were saying, when you look at the points, your team has had 807 points scored against it.
Yep.
I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
and so,
I get reminded.
Nobody else has had 700 points scored against them. You've had 807. So sometimes it's just, luck of the draw. Like you are getting these massive scores posted against you, and it's hard. That's hard. You might have the first 5 hardest, game schedule, and then all of a sudden it opens up. You don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Chip. Very inspiring.
I'm just saying.
A small sidebar. I'll keep it really quick. I know we're on a time limit, but in our fantasy baseball league this year with all the COVID, we changed it to instead of doing individual matchups, you played every single team every single week.
Oh.
And to me, what that did is that really brought, if you are a good team, right, you're beating 80% of the teams out there. If you're a bad team, you're not, but it really took out like those outlier, like in Jeremy's case, he's playing these guys that they just luckily put up amazing scores. In Jeremy's case, maybe he's going 500 those weeks or going above 500, that was just interesting.
Yeah, that's a really cool concept.
It brought more of like, if your team's good, obviously you're going to go, 9-0 or something like that. But just kind of took a little bit of the luck and took a little bit of the luck out of the equation.
Yeah.
So
no, it's definitely an interesting way to do it, and it does.
Do that. I'm
sure,
just saying,
no,
like, in Jeremy's case, when he's getting rolled by lucky teams, it's it would all of a sudden, Jeremy, you're going 5-4 that week instead of 0-1. So
yeah.
I have thrown around in my head proposing an idea for, with right now with the playoffs, we take the division winners, they get the first 2 spots. They get a bye. And then after that, it goes by record. And so in this case, this year, just the way the division's stacked out, there's a very good chance the 4 other playoff teams could all be from one division. In fact, right now, well, 3 of the other playoff teams would be from one division, and then we'd have 1 from Division 1. One idea I've thrown in my head is that the last team to make it, instead of it doing by record for the 6th place team, we do it by total points for and against.
Oh, that's a cool concept.
And so the top team, the team, you take the 5 playoff teams, and they're already in the playoffs. And then after that, the remaining 7 teams, the team with the most points scored and against, added up, would get that 6th spot. So that's something maybe after the season, early next season, we might propose that and see if people want to give that a try, just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just so we're trying to get.
If you have a quality team, but you just got a shitload of points scored against you, you could possibly make playoffs.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen. Actually, I was talking with one of the other. I don't remember. Maybe it was at the office. It seems like in the past few years, the team to win the Super Bowl has just limped into the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Like last year, I was the 6th place team. Yeah, it's happened a few years in a row. Like last year, that was me. I was 6th place, I think, and I somehow won. I have no idea. I think that was with one of Chip's wins, and I think Jorge's win. I think all 3 of us were kind of in the same boat, that we barely got in, and somehow teams got hot at the end and won. So it's just
last 2 years.
Yeah, and it is hard. It's hard to see your team win consecutively all year long, and then you get in the playoffs. And I get it. I've been there. It's not fun. I understand. So, but anyway, another little side note, Jeremy. Your teams against you have been averaging over 160 points game, 160 points per game against you.
Yeah, that's not that can't keep pace. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's gonna get easier. That won't stay up. So
seems like our league, you're mostly looking to 120 to 130 range.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty average. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, or if you're Jeremy, you score 100. I think you're muted, Jeremy.
I am muted. I apologize. Yeah, I'm still in it. I'm not out of the game yet. I'm still trying to squeeze into those playoffs.
Well, you're definitely not out of it. It's still a possibility, and that's the way I look at it. Is I'm 1-4. I'm 1 game better than you, and I still don't think I'm out of it, though it's getting a little slim. But if you and I both keep lose, like if we lose another 2 games, it's probably time to start selling.
Yeah.
For some draft picks, if possible. So. All right, well, let's just take a quick peek at the matchups for the week then.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick. He said I'm playing them this week.
So we got some brother matchups this week, those are always fun.
Yeah, I rolled you last week, so.
Yeah, you beat me last week. So this week we got Jeremy and Jordan start kicking it off. Let's see. So right now, and I don't know if everyone's set their lineups. We got not. Jordan's projected 129 points, and Jeremy's at 111. Though I don't know if our trade's going to go through before this week, Jeremy.
Oh, damn. Oh,
I'm not sure. Well,
I was going to play
think
this
it's 2 days. I don't know. Let's see. This trade. Oh no, it will.
Yeah, it's Thursday, right? So it's 2 days, 48 hours.
Yeah, no, this will be processed on Sunday. So Sunday morning, you got to come back and check this.
Yeah, I'm going to set an alarm for it right now.
I mean, obviously don't start Melvin Gordon, but...
No, he might. I think they're going to let him play this first game.
Yeah, he practiced today, so you never know. That's...
When Jeremy... I can say right now, but I shouldn't, so...
This is something that, like... When Jeremy and I talked about this yesterday at work, it was like, hey, there's a very good chance. And he's like, I know. I'm like, okay, I just... we didn't want any... I didn't want to...
Yeah, no, I was aware about the repercussions of a DUI.
No, I know. I just wanted to make sure you knew about the DUI. Yeah. That's all. So yeah, it's good. With these projections, who knows, right? They're always off.
I give it a 20 to 25 point
Experience.
like gap where it can swing.
Well, and I feel like with you right now you're starting Deion Lewis at running back 2. So you've got a 10-point bump there by moving Gordon into your starting lineup.
Yeah, I think it'll be close between me and Jordan. I'm excited for it to be a close game.
Yeah. So I think that should be a good game. Next game we've got is no pants since March. Adam going up against Jorge. Right now, we've got Adam's 2-3, Jorge's 4-1. So kind of an important one for Adam. We're getting to the point where these teams that are under 500 have to start winning some games. So just trying to see if there's anything that sticks out right now. The only thing that might be an issue, we got Godwin there for Jorge. I'm not sure what Godwin's status is right now. Does anyone
I don't know any.
know where we're at? I know he's been hurt for a few weeks.
The way old Tom's playing, I probably wouldn't start him, but that's just me.
Looks like Godwin was limited in practice, so he is practicing. So there's a chance he plays this week. We've got Jorge's got a few buys, so that's going to hurt. So we'll just have to kind of see how. I'm sure there'll be some players plugged in and out before the week starts. So next one is another family matchup. We got Rager Bombs. We got Ben going up against Nick. Nick's not here to defend himself, so go ahead. Just
go hog wild.
Yeah. No, actually, we were talking about last weekend. I mean, he's got a solid team. So, I mean, he's one of those guys I fully expect him to make the playoffs, and he's got a dangerous team. So and I've got guys that are either going to put up 20 points or not score, not even get a target. So it's very I've seen that this season. I got Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews. Those guys can disappear off the face of the earth real quick. So, might have a nice projection, but really doesn't mean much until we see what happens. So,
no, you got a very solid team. There's not really any. I wouldn't even say there's really no weak spot.
I consider starting 2 tight ends this week. I'll be honest with it.
That's nutty.
Not Johnny, but Jonnu Smith, he's top 5 tight end right now. Mark Andrews, but fortunately I got Madison coming off the bench this week. He's going to fill in, and I think we'll be in good shape. So
no, I
don't know who's got Cook, but if they'd like Madison, they're more than welcome to make an offer.
I'm interested in Jonnu. I might be interested in Jonnu if you want to make a trade. You just got to let me know.
The tough thing, me and tight ends. I like my tight ends, so I don't know. But he that was one of those guys I went in the draft. I wanted to draft no matter what it took, and I'm just happy it's panned out so far. So.
I was pretty disappointed when he was gone. I was looking to draft him, and I waited one round too long. So one thing about Nick is he doesn't have a kicker in right now, so I'm presuming he's going to pick someone up before the week starts.
He's going to shoot you and I a text. He's going to consider dropping a guy and wants to just see if we want him first.
Yeah, I guess I will take Claypool if he's looking to drop him.
Yeah, I'll give you $1 my free agency bonus thing. He told me that. He's like, well, I had 12 of 12, so I had to pay the most. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Oh, shit, man.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, you live and learn, so. Yeah. Good news is he knows he's going to get him at $50, so.
Well, I mean, he got his guy. And he wanted him, so he's all set.
What if I just can I just bid him 55 right now? I'm not gonna, but that would be funny.
That's funny. All right, next game we're gonna go down. We got Henpire Strikes Back. Chip going up against Mike with Lions Kool-Aiders.
This is a must-win nail biter.
This is an important game. Both teams, but Chip's kind of in a little bit tighter spot. He needs to win a little bit more. And boy, this is a close projection right now. Granted, Chip does not have a defense. I'm presuming he will put his defense in when the trade goes through.
Hopefully.
Just looking through it right now.
That is a game where Chip can prove his approach. If Chip comes this week and smashes a big win with some new players, he in my mind will lend some credence to his approach to fantasy football if that's the way it goes. I'm excited to see it.
Well, it's a different strategy. There's no doubt about it. But
yeah, Chip, do you wanna pipe in here? The only thing I'm concerned for you is Julio.
Yep, so am I. But
Yeah.
like you guys were saying, it's the same idea that I'm just hoping that everything is working on all cylinders. On paper, it should work, right? But we'll see what happens when it gets plugged in. And like you said, I'll put in my defense and my new tight end and see and hope that it runs. I mean, it hurts to lose Dak, but I'm also
it hurt to watch what happened to him.
right. Yeah, it was pretty awful.
I'll play it on the screen right now for everybody watching. Just kidding.
No, they. I was watching Red Zone and they were like, "We're not going to show the bad angle," and they showed it. They showed what they did, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't see the bad angle." So
yeah, there's a couple of sites out there that have Dak as their #1 fantasy player right now, and I was like,
I had
all
him
right.
in my other league.
I mean,
I'm in first place.
Yeah.
With Dak.
yeah,
Yep.
no, he probably was MVP of the year up until that happened.
Close,
I would think.
definitely.
You know.
He's top 3, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that was a huge loss. Felt bad for Chip on that one. When that came across, it was like, oh, you don't replace that.
nope.
So
Tom Brady's ready and raring to go, Chip, if you want him.
I mean, if you want the stash, I mean, the Minshew's available.
Yeah, I got
Minshew is available.
Fitzmagic and Big Ben.
Oh,
I'll just
not
say
a lot
Derek-
of not a lot of good QBs in this call.
Chip, I will trade you Minshew for Derrick Henry. If we're
Just
looking
straight
for
up.
Worst trade ever.
I
could
better
probably
give
top-
you Devontae Adams as well and Derrick Henry for that. I mean, how can I possibly get away with that trade?
I tell you, you throw the offer out, and I'll think about it.
All right. Well, I'll be watching for that by the end of the podcast.
Hey, if we get it done now, we can get it in before the week starts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for piping in again, Chip. This should be a good matchup. I think when the trade goes through and you get your defense in, I think you'll probably be projected a little bit over Mike. But it's again, who knows? Hard to say. He picked up Prater today. That kind of irritated me that I didn't do that before.
Same.
He did.
I got pissed off and I couldn't get Prater.
Yep. So that was a good pickup by Mike this morning. All right. All right. 2 more games. We got Depression AJ going up against Donnie with Marine City Cubbies. This one, I got a 4-1 team going up against 2-3. Donnie appears to have this one. I wouldn't say well in hand, but he's got a 20-point projected win right now. So obviously, with the changes going at Kansas City, that may affect Edwards-Helaire.
AJ doesn't have Aaron Jones in, who's projected to get 18 points. So I don't know if this is going to be super close because AJ hasn't set his lineup yet.
And to be honest, anytime you got a guy,
that's huge
in
impact. I
Donnie's
didn't even notice that.
Anytime you got a guy in Donnie's situation where he has so many guys on the same team, if Kansas City comes out and lays a dud, he's going to lose.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. If Baltimore is not throwing the ball, I'm done. I have no chance. So with Donnie, it's a volatile. Now he's got a bunch of Kansas City guys, so that shouldn't be a problem. But
if it was any other team, I'd be worried.
Just something
It
where
certainly-
you're going
it
against
certainly
Donnie,
has worked
you
so
might
far.
have a really high projection, but if Kansas City comes out and they don't play well, Donnie's he's going to be fighting. So.
Yeah,
No,
it'll be interesting to see how Kansas City holds up because was it last year where they were kind of banged up going into the playoffs? Like by the end of the season, like was some of these teams where if you even if they're good, if you have 3 or 4 players from the same team, at least one of them's going to be injured.
Yeah, Mahomes was hurt quite a bit in the second half of the season last year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it can happen. It can go two different ways. You could have with Kansas City with Donnie, and that it's a great offense and they're putting up a lot of points, or you could do the Cincinnati version that I did, which kind of blew up in my face.
The Cincinnati special.
Yeah, the Cincinnati steamer that I've got.
Yeah, but you didn't draft those guys as high as he did, or keep them for what he kept them for. So,
well, fair enough.
He paid his price.
Different level.
I would say, but Mahomes has been solid. I mean,
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you have the receiver, the running back, or no, he's got the running back, tight end, quarterback, right? Does he have Kelsey?
No.
Well,
I don't
who
think
else
so.
does he have in Kansas City? Just the running back and Pat?
I have
Yeah.
it pulled up.
He's
Yeah,
got the
just those two.
kicker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
They break,
So, and
I thought he was looking.
they break
I thought he was
Harrison
looking.
Butker's ankle next game. No.
So,
Anytime
yeah. So
you have
this. Go ahead.
Anytime you have a guy with 3 guys on the same team, those projections can get pretty volatile. That's
Yep.
all.
Yep.
They could be way off by the end of the day. So.
Mhm.
Yep, absolutely. No, last week with Cincinnati, I'm watching that game just crying because nothing was going on. It was very brutal.
Whereas if you got a bunch of guys mixed around, you can maybe get some out performances, underperformances, maybe even out and you get close. But
Yep. So last but not least, we got me, number 1 bench, going up against Brendan, busted lip, and right now it's a pretty healthy projected win for me, but anything can change. So we'll see.
what's the records? What are the records for each
1-4,
team?
2-3.
Yeah, 1-4. We got a couple bottom feeders here, so
That should be a good matchup then.
He hasn't said his lineup though.
Yeah, he didn't mention that, Anthony. Just go a healthy win here.
I'm
He
trying
has
to. Well,
at
that's
least
right.
one running back who has a bye week
Yeah, he's got.
or who's out.
Actually, he's got 4 guys on the bench. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's out. No, Delvin Cook. Good chance he's not playing this week. So you're correct.
He's probably not going to
Just
put a
looking
high
at-
value guy in his place anyway, but still.
Yeah, he's a little thin at running back, so he's looking at some. Yeah, we'll have to see who he's got. Keyshawn Vaughn, Carry-On, and Chris Thompson. So we'll have to pick one of those 3.
Well, Madison's always available.
Madison's available for a price.
You heard it here first.
Yeah,
He's been available all year.
going at discount prices.
Get him now. We will pay
Anymore.
you.
Yeah. So again, it's another one of those things. Like it's early in the week, things can change. I've got it.
No Thursday night game tonight. No Thursday night game tonight.
No, this is first Thursday recording in a while with no game. So
Yeah, it's pretty. Yikes! Wow.
So, I mean, that pretty much sums it up.
Yep.
I guess the only thing I'd like to say at the end is just, 2 things really. First one being, Ben, thank you for coming on tonight. It's nice to get your perspective on things, and so people don't have to just listen to Jeremy and I spew out our nonsense week after week. So we really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to come on with us. If anyone else would like to do it, we're always open for guests to come on. We'd like to get anyone that wants to come on. We'd like to get you on, and probably later in the season as we get closer to the playoffs and some of these matchups get carry a little more weight. We'd like to get maybe 2 people from a game on and let them just spew,
Hash it out.
asinine nonsense at each other for an hour and kind of see how that goes. So,
And you don't have to do a
keep
full
that-
hour. You can jump on like Chip did and jump back off however you want. So don't feel like you have to do a full 60 if you don't want to.
Yep. And if anyone just wants to listen live and pipe in every once in a while, we're always open to that too. So,
Yep.
Just shoot me a text or pop something on Facebook. Let us know, and we'll get you guys on here because we'd like to see everyone on that wants to do it. And then the only other thing is that rule change we talked about. Please shoot something on Facebook or text me. Let me know your thoughts so we can decide if we're going to either do it this weekend or potentially wait or just not do it at all. So that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good
See you
night.
guys.